So electric discharge machining is classified under thermal processes in non-conventional machining. Okay, in this process, these discrete sparks between the tool and the work creates a very high temperature localized zone which melts and evaporates the work material. Okay, so a number of sparks take place in a given frame of time, and these evaporate or melt away the work. The dielectric that you can see flowing here carries away the debris of machining. Okay, we have a power supply which supplies intermittent pulses. Okay, so at some particular instant a current will be supplied and then it will be stopped. Okay, when the current is supplied, a spark will be created between the work and the tool, and during the switching off of the spark, means switching of the current, then the dielectric will carry away the debris of machining and also cool down the workpiece. Okay, now as you can see here, the tool and the workpiece are placed at some gap which is called the standoff distance or standoff gap. Okay, then due to the inaccuracies in machining, you may also observe some amount of overcut because there may be some amount of machining at the side of the tool as well. Okay, so it is desirable that the overcut is as low as possible. Now the machine maintains a constant gap between the tool and the workpiece. So whenever we have a tool and a workpiece, if we see it on a microscopic scale, we will not observe a smooth surface, isn't it? There will be some amount of roughness. Now say this is the tool and here we have the work. Now the spark will take place at the location where the gap between the tool and the work is minimum. So here by observation we can see that the minimum gap is at this location, isn't it? So a spark will be created at this location. So after the spark, a cavity will be formed, material will be removed. Now this distance becomes larger. Okay, so the next spark will not be located at this particular location. Okay, it will happen somewhere else. So after this erosion, this region is closest, so the next spark will occur here. Similarly, the location of the spark keeps on changing. Okay, and at some particular time all the new machine surface will be at a new gap from the tool. At this point the tool will be advanced to maintain the standoff gap. Okay, usually the polarity of the tool is negative and the polarity of the workpiece is positive. Clear? But in some cases it may also be reversed. Now with the discovery of electricity, it was well known that these electrical sparks are produced. Benjamin Franklin reported the electrical sparks in 1700s, but EDM was developed much later in 1940s. Though some initial work was going on in this field, but it was not. But what was present could not be called electric discharge machining. So what was invented in 1940s was electric discharge machining. With the development in the power supply, this method became more and more popular, and now it is one of the most commonly used non-traditional machining process because of many advantages that it offers. Like it can create very thin walls and fine features. Difficult geometries are easily produced. It is not affected by the mechanical properties of the work like hardness, strength, toughness. Here what is important is the melting point and melting and evaporation point of the work material. Okay. The process also does not produce any burrs. Now if you see at the schematic of the process, we have a tool which is fed at a particular feed rate depending on the material that is been machined and the erosion speed. Okay, so this is servo controlled. So there is a control system which measures the continuously measures the gap between the tool and the workpiece, and with the feedback it constantly maintains a constant gap. Okay, so as we can see here, there is a spark gap. The tool electrode is fed, a dielectric is supplied. So there may be different methods of supplying the dielectric. The tool and the workpiece may be submerged in the dielectric, or they may be supplied by a flushing system. Okay, so there is not a single way in which the electricity is supplied, but there are many different methods of supplying the dielectric. Okay, now what does a dielectric do? Why do we need a dielectric? So under normal conditions, the dielectric acts as an insulator. Okay, on the application of the potential difference across it, a breakdown of the dielectric starts. Okay, and then a point is reached when a discharge is possible through the dielectric, that is, flow of current is possible through the dielectric. This is the sparking stage, and when the pulse is stopped, okay, again the plasma channel breaks down and new dielectric flows between the gap of the tool electrode and the work, and then again a new pulse is supplied and the breakdown takes place. Okay, now the shape of the finished work is produced by a formed electrode tool. What it means is, we first have to create a tool which will have the shape of the cavity that we want to create. Say for example, we want to create a hole with a square cross section. So for that we need to create a tool which will have that particular shape. Okay, so here additionally we have to produce a tool for every type of job that we require. Unlike in conventional machining, where we have a single tool for, say for example, a single point cutting tool used in a lathe. So we'll have that tool, and with that tool we can produce different geometries. But in case of EDM, for each product that we want to create, we'll have a form tool. Okay, a tool with the required shape. Okay, now let us discuss how the material removal takes place. So the electrode and the work are kept at a very small gap, which is around 0.01 to 0.5 mm. So the gap between the tool and the workpiece is around 0.01 to 0.5 mm. It is followed by applying a pulse. The voltage pulse breaks down the dielectric. Okay, a spark is created, and then the spark or the power supply is switched off. Okay, so this constant gap is maintained by the servo mechanism in the machine. It constantly measures the gap between the workpiece and tool, and whenever it finds that the gap is more than the spark gap or standoff gap, it provides a feed to the tool to maintain a constant gap. Pulse generators supply the power in pulses of 20 to 120 volt at frequency of 5 kilohertz. What is the frequency of the power supply at our homes? Though we have a DC power, we have a AC power supply. Here we are using DC. But in our homes, what is the frequency of power supply? 50 hertz. So here you can see the frequency is 5 kilohertz. Okay, so it means 5,000 pulses, 5,000 cycles per second. Okay, compared to 50 cycles per second in the power supply that we have at our homes. Okay, in case of EDM, DC power supply is usually used. Okay, there may be some niche applications where they may be using AC power supply for research purposes and for some specific applications like machining of titanium using wire ADM uses AC power supply to reduce oxidation. Okay, but generally the power supply that is used is DC power supply. Okay. Then after the pulse starts, there is electrical breakdown of the dielectric. Okay, voltage pulses caused electrical breakdown to the dielectric in a channel of radius 10 micrometer. So as you can see, the spark radius is very small, around 10 micrometer. The breakdown arises from the acceleration towards the anode of both electrons emitted from the cathode and by the applied field and the stray electrons present in the gap. These electrons collide with the neutral atoms of the dielectric, creating positive ions and further electrons, which in turn are accelerated respectively towards the cathode and anode, creating the spark. Okay. Now the discharge occurs at location where the two work surfaces are closest, as we already discussed. Temperatures of about 8,000 to 12,000 degrees Celsius and heat fluxes up to 10 to the power 17 watt per meter square are attained. So as you can see, the temperature range is so high, 8,000 to 12,000 degrees Celsius. At this temperature, almost all the materials known to us would melt and evaporate. Okay. Also, the power density is very high, which causes the material in this small radius, that is a spark radius, to melt. Okay. Simultaneously, some amount of melting will also take place in the electrode. Okay, though that is not very significant, but some amount of erosion also takes place in the tool and is responsible for the tool wear. Now simultaneously there is some amount of evaporation in the dielectric. So this evaporation of dielectric, what it does, it creates a very high pressure in the spark region. So as we increase the pressure, say for example we have water at room temperature and atmospheric pressure, we start boiling it, means we start heating it. So at what temperature will it boil? At what temperature would water boil? At atmospheric pressure 100 degrees Celsius. And if I increase the atmosphere pressure around it, means I put it in a chamber where the pressure is more than atmospheric pressure, say 10 atmospheric pressure, then what will happen to its boiling point? Increase or decrease? It will increase. Okay, so its evaporation will reduce because it requires more energy to evaporate now. Okay, so similarly, when this evaporation of dielectric creates a high pressure above the work surface of around 200 atmosphere, it prevents the evaporation of the metal or the work. Now since it does not evaporate, okay, so it will remain in the cavity that was created due to the spark. Now after this the pulse is switched off. So as soon as the pulse is switched off and the new dielectric flushes through it, there will be a sudden drop in pressure over the work surface and the superheated metal will explode. A shock wave will be created and it will be ejected from the spark cavity that was created. Okay, clear? So the dielectric that flows into the spark gap takes away the melted material, which again resolidifies into small spheres due to cooling by the dielectric. Okay, also the dielectric cools down the newly machined surface. Clear? It somewhat like quenching takes place in the workpiece. Clear? Now due to the intense heat, some amount of melting took place, some amount of metal was ejected. However, some melted metal is not removed from the surface. Some amount of metal stays back. This metal resolidifies and a thin layer of recast metal is found. Why is it called recast? Because it melts and resolidifies just like casting. Okay, so a thin layer of recast metal is formed and below it we have a thin layer of heat affected zone. Okay, now as we can see, or as we already discussed, the hardness and strength of the work material are not factors in electric discharge machining, isn't it? Because the machining takes place due to the heat provided by the spark. Whether the material is hard or soft, tough or brittle, it does not matter here. Okay, then what will matter? Which properties will matter here? What are the important properties in this process? Conductivity of the workpiece. Okay, then uh, I'm asking about the work material properties of the workpiece. What properties of workpiece will be important in EDM? Low specific heat. Okay. Then what will be the most important? Melting point of the material, isn't it? A material with a higher melting point will require more energy. The one with a lower melting point may require a lower energy. For example, if we are machining aluminum with EDM, and then we are machining tungsten with EDM, which one will have a higher machining speed? Aluminum, because it has low melting point, so it will require less energy uh, per unit volume for erosion or for machining, isn't it? So an approximate relationship between the material removal rate, current, and temperature was given by Weller in 1984. So the equation is MRR equal to Ki upon Tm to the power 1.23. Here K is a constant of proportionality, which is 664 in SI units. I is the discharge current, and Tm is the melting point of the work material in degrees Celsius. Here MRR is in millimeter cube per second, that is volumetric material removal rate. Okay, clear? So as we can see, MRR is inversely proportional to melting point and directly proportional to the discharge current. So if we increase the current, our material removal rate will increase, and if the material has a higher melting point, its MRR will reduce. So here we have a schematic of the equipment used in electric discharge machining. So we have a power supply, a pulse generator. Usually it is a resistance capacitance relaxation circuit. You may have studied RLC, RC, LC. So here we have a RC circuit, resistance capacitance relaxation circuit. Usually there are other types of pulse generators as well, but this is the more common one. Okay, then we have a mechanism to control the spark gap, that is a control system to constantly measure the gap and readjust it, okay, to provide the tool feed. The dielectric is supplied to the gap between the work and the tool. There can be different mechanisms of supplying it. Okay, a filter is required to clean the dielectric because the debris are carried away with the dielectric fluid. So the pump resupplies the dielectric after filtration. Also some amount of evaporation will also take place in the dielectric, so the level is kept constant by additional supply. Okay, any doubt? Yes. Yes. Okay. See, see, yes. So, what we want to produce, we want to, we'll be using EDM to machine difficult to machine materials. Okay. Say for example, super alloy, some super alloy, tungsten alloys, or say tungsten itself. So they are difficult to machine by conventional methods. But the tool material that we'll be using is a material which is very easily machinable. That is, its machinability is high. For example, copper, brass, okay, graphite. So these can be machined very easily, or these can be given the shape we want very easily. Okay. So this EDM that we are discussing became very popular mainly for production of dies, punches. Okay. So machining of dies, because dies are made of very hard materials. Okay. Conventional machining was difficult, though they have very simple shapes. They may be having a very simple shape, say they just have a circular cavity, but machining that material is very difficult. However, the tool material that we are using are very easy to machine, so they can be machined and they can be used to produce the die or punches. Clear? So the tool material that we are using are materials having high machinability. Okay, so they can be easily produced. Clear? Is it clear? Okay, so they are not of the same material that we are machining. Okay, the tool materials are made of a different material which has a higher machinability by conventional methods. Okay. Now the EDM machine has these four main subcomponents. That is a dielectric system, power supply, servo mechanism, and work holding system. The dielectric system supplies the dielectric at the required flow rate, flushing rate or flushing mode, purity. Okay, clear? So purity is also very important, because if the debris are supplied with the dielectric, the conductivity of the dielectric will increase, isn't it? Because of the presence of the work material. Or it may short the tool and the workpiece, and hence no machining may take place. So maintaining the purity of the dielectric is very important. It also removes the debris from the inter-electrode gap. Then we have the power supply. It is responsible for supplying pulses at certain voltage current, having a particular on time and off time. On time means the time for which the pulse supplies the current, and off time when there is no supply of current, that is the off time. The type of waveform that we have is controlled by the power supply. Then we have the servo mechanism. What does it do? It maintains a constant gap called the spark gap between the work and the tool surface. The work holding device holds the workpiece rigidly in position during the machining against the flushing forces. Though the machining forces are not very high here, but depending on the mode in which the dielectric is flushed, there may be significant forces on the workpiece. So it holds the workpiece in place against these forces. Okay. Now can you tell me what will be the process parameters for this process? What do you think? Any idea? Any guesses? Melting point, okay. Then current, okay. Resistance, okay. Dielectric constant, very good. Standoff distance, very good. What more? Yes. MRR, how can that be process parameter? This is the response that we want, no? That is the objective. Process parameters means things that we use to control the process. Okay. MRR will be a result of the parameters that we set. Okay. What parameters are under your control? Okay. Then only as a result you will get some kind of material removal rate or surface finish. Okay. So what are the things that are under your control? Okay, means the power supply. You mean the power supply characteristics. Okay, then very good. Frequency of the pulses, feed rate. That feed rate is not controlled by you, it is controlled by the servo mechanism. Okay, depending on gap, it adjusts itself. You are not controlling it. Okay, let's discuss now. So each spark will create a crater, isn't it? So the crater volume will determine our material removal rate, surface finish, and accuracy, isn't it? Because the material is removed by a series of craters that is created due to the sparks. So each crater will have some volume. Okay, and say per second we have 10 craters. If the crater volume is high, then our MRR will be high. If the crater volume is lower, then our MRR will be lower. Simultaneously, if our crater volume is high, then our surface finish will be poorer. If the crater volume is low, our surface finish will be better, isn't it? So they are conflicting in nature, MRR and surface finish. So if we aim to achieve higher MRR, we may achieve a lower surface finish, and vice versa. The same is for accuracy. Okay. So mainly what we do, we control the crater size, isn't it? To control the crater size, what we can do, we can control a tool electrode, pulse characteristics, work material properties. But work material properties are not under our control, because the product that we want, say it is made up of a certain material, you cannot change the material. So that is not basically under our control, but it influences the process. Okay, it is not something the machine operator will control. He has been given this material to machine, so he cannot change it. So it is not under his control, but the work material properties will influence the machining process. Okay, dielectric properties. The dielectric is under the control of the operator, he can change the dielectric. So it is a controllable parameter. Okay. So tool electrode. So what kind of material are we using for the tool electrode? Okay. What kind of servo mechanism is being used, which will determine the feed. Then what is the wear rate of the material that we are using for the tool electrode. Some material may have a lower wear, some may have a higher wear. Okay. One that is having a higher wear will give us poorer surface finish and accuracy, isn't it? Then we have the pulse characteristics. What kind of waveform we are using, what is the polarity, what is the open and working voltage, what is the peak current, what is the pulse on time, pulse off time. Okay, so the pulse on and pulse off time will determine our cycle time, that is our frequency. Okay, so all these pulse characteristics will influence the process. Then the thermal properties of the work material, like melting point, boiling point, thermal conductivity, electrical conductivity. Dielectric properties, like what is the flushing mode that we are using, what is the flow rate, what is the dielectric properties. This means dielectric strength of the material of the dielectric. Okay, and other properties like viscosity and its conductivity or its thermal properties, its boiling point. So there are many other properties that may also influence the process. Okay. Therefore, the removal rate of the process can be controlled by varying the frequency of discharge, energy per discharge, the voltage and current on which the energy per discharge depends. Okay, so if we control the frequency of discharge, we can control the number of craters created per unit time. The energy of discharge will determine what will the volume of the crater that is formed. Okay, clear? Now the removal rate and surface finish increase with increasing current density. Okay, so the removal rate will increase and also the roughness of the surface will increase. As you can see in this figure, the roughness is measured by the trough that is created by the spark. So with the increase in the current density, this size will increase and so will the roughness. And with the decreasing frequency means there are less pulses per unit time, means each pulse has a longer duration. So if it will have a longer duration, more energy is being supplied. Okay, say we have a given current level. Okay, and in the first case the frequency is high. It means each pulse will occur for a shorter duration, so your energy supplied per pulse is less. However, if we increase the pulse time, frequency decreases and your energy supplied per pulse increases, and so does your crater size. So let us understand the waveform characteristics, because it is very important in this process. So the waveform may not necessarily be of this shape, it may have many other shapes. Okay, but this is the simplest one and the most straightforward one to understand. Okay, so here what we have the current, and on this side we have the time. So this time is measured in microsecond. Okay, so So the pulse starts and it lasts for some time. That particular time is called the pulse on time. Okay, then the pulse switches off, and the time for which there is no current flowing in the circuit is called the pulse off time. Okay, so this pulse off time did not necessarily be equal to the pulse on time. It may be larger, smaller, or equal to the pulse on time. Okay, it will depend on the operator how much he wants the pulse of time to be. Why is this pulse of time important? This pulse of time allows the dielectric to remove the debris from the machining zone. Also, it cools down the workpiece during that time. Okay, and also fresh dielectric is supplied to the inter-electrode gap. The T on time plus T of time is the cycle time. That is the duration of a complete cycle. Okay. Now, as you can see here, this is the peak current, and depending on the pulse of time and pulse off time, we'll have the average current that is flowing in the circuit. Okay. Now here we have surface finish against discharge current. So say the lower values are for smooth surfaces, means if the surface finish value is low, it means a smooth surface, and if the value is high, it means a rough surface. Then what kind of curve will you observe between surface finish and discharge current? Any guesses? What will be the change in surface finish with increasing current? Yes. Decreasing curve means negative slope. What it means, with increasing current, what will happen? It will become smooth or rough? It will become rough. Smooth. Why? And means any reasoning for that? So okay. What about others? Is he correct? Say something. Okay, so let's see. So with increase in current, our roughness will increase. So the surface will become rougher. Means there will be more irregularities with the increase in discharge current. Why? Because our crater size will increase. With each discharge, we will create a larger crater. So if we create a larger crater, our surface will be less smooth. Okay, there will be higher roughness. Clear? Now what will happen with the frequency? say we have this discharge current. Okay, now say I want to draw a curve for discharge versus surface finish for a lower frequency supply and also for a higher frequency supply. So what will be the curve? What will the curve look like? Means I'll have two different curves, one for low frequency, one for high frequency. So where will that curves lie? Okay, okay, very good. So she is correct. So say this curve is for high frequency supply. Okay, then the low frequency one will lie above it. Why? Because it will produce a rougher surface. For the same discharge current, the supply with a lower frequency will have less smooth surface. Why? Because say the current that is supplied is say 100 ampere. I'm just roughly saying a value. Okay, so say this is for the low frequency supply. So what it means, and this is for the high frequency supply. Okay, so what it means is the current is supplied for say 50 microseconds, and here the current is supplied for 10 microseconds. Now in this case, here the current is supplied for a shorter duration, so less amount of energy per discharge. So if less amount of energy supplied per discharge, our crater size will be lower. Okay, whereas here we are supplying the same current but for a longer duration, so the energy supply is for a longer duration, so our crater size will be bigger. Okay, so our surface will be the less smooth when the frequency is low. Okay, clear? Yes. हाँ. 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 Means why we can't control? See, say you have a capacitor bank. You are discharging it into the inter-electrode gap. Now the circuit is switched on. Okay, so say the energy stored inside the capacitor bank is say 100 joule. Okay, say it is 100 joule. Now you have switched on the circuit for say 50 microsecond. Okay, and the capacitor bank is supplying the energy, so the spark will not stop till the entire energy stored in the bank is discharged. Okay, but what if we intentionally stop the circuit or close the or open the circuit before the capacitor is able to discharge its energy? Can we do that? Say for example, you have a water tank in your house. Okay, if you open a tape in your house, water will come out of it. Okay, but it will have some flow rate, na? It is not that the instant you open the tape, all the water from the water tank will come out. It will take some time, isn't it? So before the water, all the water comes out of the water tank, you can turn off the tap, na? Understood? Discharge energy per second. No. Per unit time means it will supply at some particular rate, na? So if you reduce the time, you are supplying less energy then. Understood? Understood? Clear? Okay. Now we have discharge current and frequency versus overcut. What is overcut? It is the, say for example, you have the machining at the site. Say for example, you want to create a cavity of 100 mm diameter. So you are using a tool of 100 mm, but the cavity that you get is slightly larger than 100 mm. Okay, the difference that is observed is the overcut. Okay, clear? So how does it depend on the discharge current? Will it increase or decrease with increasing current? Will it increase or decrease? Overcut. Increase. Why? So you're correct, it will increase with the increase in current. What will happen with frequency? Decrease. How? Okay, so this is how it decreases with increase in frequency. Okay, the overcut increases with increase in current, but it decreases with the increase in frequency. Clear? Current, see, you can set the maximum peak current value in the circuit. It is under your control. Okay, the current that is supplied in the circuit, you can control it. There is a means in the control panel of the equipment, you are able to set the peak current. Okay, you can also set that pulse on time and pulse off time. Clear? Yes, the one that I showed, it is a simplified waveform. It is not exactly like that. Okay, it changes. It is not that it is exactly a rectangular shape pulse. Okay, clear? It varies. It varies as the pulse is switched on, and by the time the pulse switches off, it is not a straight line. Okay, it varies. There is a maximum value which is called the peak current. Okay, clear? That the figure that I showed is for simplification. Okay, for understanding purpose. Clear? Okay, because I didn't want to go into lot of details of it, so for simplification I have shown that figure. Clear? Okay, so now when the circuit is off, there is no current flowing in the system, the capacitor is charging, then there is a voltage across the tool and the workpiece that is called the open circuit voltage. Okay, then the circuit is switched on. Okay, there is a potential difference between across the electrode gap. Okay, spark gap. What it does, it starts breaking down the dielectric. The potential difference slowly drops. Okay, then the spark is established. During that spark, the voltage is lower. It is called the spark voltage. Okay, and then again the circuit is switched off. Clear? Okay, so as this voltage changes, there is also change in current. It is not that it will have a constant value, it will have a peak value. Okay, there is slight variation in the current during the entire cycle. Clear? Okay, but we can note, and the panel will show a average current during the cycle. Okay, clear? Okay, now there are two variations to this electric discharge machining. One is EDM that we discussed till now, also called die EDM, ram EDM, or sinker EDM. Clear? The one that we discussed till now is simply called EDM. Okay, the other one is wire EDM. Okay, clear? So this ram EDM or die sinking EDM was developed much before wire EDM, and it has got its name die sinking EDM because of its most prominent application, that is production of dies. Okay, and then later wire EDM was invented, which is a special form of EDM in which the cutting tool is in the form of a wire. Okay, so this is what the process looks like. There is a wire spool. So this wire spool supplies a wire. Okay, this wire is constantly moving, and a constant gap is maintained between the wire and the workpiece. Here the wire does not move, but that workpiece is moved along x and y direction to give the desired shape. Clear? Okay, the dielectric is flushed in this case, it is never submerged. So in case of die sinking EDM or EDM that we discussed till now, the electrode and the workpiece may be submerged in the dielectric, but in this case it is usually flushed because there is a very small gap between the this wire and the workpiece, and the path that it follows is also very narrow. So to ensure proper removal of debris, it is usually flushed. Okay, here you can see a wire EDM machine. This is the control panel. So here you can see a path, isn't it? The path that the tool will follow to produce a desired product. Okay, here you have the wire spool. here you will have the wire spool. Okay, this wire spool is supplied here. This is the machining zone. Here the machining takes place. Clear? This on the back is the dielectric system. Means it filters the dielectric, deionizes it and supplies it to the machining region. This is the table. Okay, this will move and create the path. This at the bottom collects the dielectric after flushing. Okay, clear? And this is a control remote. So if the operator does not want to go to the machine, he can also operate the machine by using this remote. Okay, now in this process, as we already discussed, we use a thin wire, okay, as the electrode. Now if you look closely, we have the work here. We have the wire diameter, and in addition to the wire diameter, there will be small amount of overcut that will create the curve. Okay, clear? So the curve will be slightly larger than the wire diameter, and the gap between the electrode and the work in front of the electrode is the spark gap. Okay, see here, the wire EDM will require an entry path, isn't it? It will require an entry path. So if you want to create a hole, how will it enter? Can it enter? See here, when we are using wire EDM to machine it, you have to enter the workpiece, na? Then only you can machine it, because it is a through. The wire has to pass through the workpiece. So if you want to create a hole here, you will need a path to reach this position, na? Then how does it remain a hole? Otherwise, you will have to create a pre-existing hole and you have to pass the wire through it. Then you can do it. Okay, so in that case, EDM will be more preferable, isn't it? Okay, or say you want to create a blind hole. Blind hole means it is not entirely through the workpiece. In that case, you cannot use wire EDM. You'll have to use EDM. Okay, clear? Now, say we have a different application. We have a piece of metal here, and we want to create a punch and die. Means we have to cut a piece of material out of this, which should fit the remaining portion. So if you use EDM, this portion will be melted and eroded. So it will not remain. So instead, what you can do, you can use wire EDM to cut it through. Okay, clear? In that case, you will get both the pieces. Now electrode material. So in EDM, usually graphite, copper, brass, copper tungsten, silver tungsten and other materials are used. In wire EDM, copper, brass, tungsten, molybdenum, etc. in wire form are used. Okay, so in case of EDM, you require a form tool, that is you have to make a particular tool for a particular job, whereas in wire EDM, you have a single tool that can be used for different applications. Same wire can be used for different products. Dielectric. In case of EDM, we can use hydrocarbon oils, kerosene, distilled or deionized water. Whereas in case of wire EDM, usually wire EDM is used because of its low viscosity, because it can flow very easily through the curve, and less commonly oil. Okay. So can you list a few advantages of electric discharge machining? Yes, very good. Then no, it is not a stress-free machining because there will be some thermal stresses developed due to the high temperatures that the work is subjected to. So it is not entirely a stress-free machining process, but you can say that there is no mechanical stresses produced due to the machining forces. Okay. Next. Anything else? Others? Please add. Yes, you are not audible loudly. Yes, very good. Complex. Yes. Okay, so all of you know these things. So let us just go through it. Applicable to all materials that are fairly good electrical conductors, including metals, alloys, and most carbides. The hardness, toughness, or brittleness of the material imposes no limitations on the machinability. EDM provides a relatively simple method for making holes and pockets of desired cross-section in materials that are too hard or brittle to be machined by other methods. The process leaves no burrs on the edges, means the edges are very smooth. The absence of almost all mechanical forces makes it possible to EDM fragile or delicate parts without distortion. Okay, and in addition to this, it can machine difficult shapes or complex shapes. It can machine almost all materials. It can now moving on to disadvantages. It produces a very thin, hard, recast surface. Okay, in some applications it may not be desirable and may require a subsequent process to polish the surface. Okay. Fumes. So when we are machining these metals, the dielectric as well as the material that is being machined will evaporate. Sometimes these fumes may be very toxic in nature because of the metals that we are machining. Okay, so that may be a serious concern for the operator. Now, improper disposal of used dielectric is an environmental concern. Now, the used dielectric will contain all the machined material, okay, all the alloying elements that were present in the material that you machined. Okay, so all these, when disposed improperly, may lead to some environmental issues. Insulators cannot be machined using this process. However, some research is going on. Means as early as 2004, it was reported that ceramics can be machined using some special coating of metal over them. Okay, so by placing some wire mesh or metallic coating over these ceramics, or researchers were able to machine these ceramics. Okay. However, without these special preparations, machining of insulators is not possible using EDM. Expensive tooling and equipment. So these machines are quite complex, and due to its complexity, due to its complex nature, they are also very costly. Okay. And so you may not find it commonplace in all the workshops or small scale industries because of their prohibiting cost. Okay. Applications. About 80 to 90% of EDM work performed in the world is in the manufacture of tool and die sets for injection molding, forging, stamping, and extrusions. Micro machining applications. Machining of extremely hard and brittle materials, producing complex shapes and cavities, deep holes, punch and dies in single operation using wire EDM, electric discharge sawing of material. So this electric discharge sawing is similar to wire electric discharge machining. Means we create a curve to separate this material. This is similar to wire EDM, but in this case the curve is broader. That is, we use a rotating tool to EDM the workpiece, or a metallic band to saw through the workpiece. So we'll end today's lecture here. So any doubt? Didn't understand. Recast surface means say you have this workpiece and this is the tool. Now a spark will be created. So this spark will melt some amount of material. Okay, so this is the melted material. After the pulse is switched off, this material will be ejected out of it. So say in the next stage we have something like this, but some amount of material will remain back. Okay, this material will resolidify, but it will have a different microstructure compared to the remaining workpiece, because here the material has melted again and resolidified under different condition. The condition that this material was subjected to is different from the bulk of the material, isn't it? The rate at which it cooled down, the amount of superheat that it had, everything is different from the processing of the remaining material. So a thin layer will be produced, which is known as the recast layer. Okay, and a thin heat affected zone will also be produced below that recast layer. Okay, so this is what I wanted to explain, but what is your specific doubt? Yes, you are not audible. Please speak loudly. Means what is your doubt? Okay, so recast layer is nothing but when you are doing the machining, okay, some amount of material will be carried away by the dielectric after melting. some amount of material will carried over dielectric, some amount of material will remain stuck with the workpiece surface. It will solidify again. Now when it solidifies, it is just like a casting, isn't it? So it is given a name called recast layer because it forms a very thin layer over the workpiece. Okay. So if it is not clear, maybe in the next class I'll show you a photograph of a recast layer, how it is, how it looks like, what is its size,